Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today we have Netflix 324th film from 2020. It's the Christmas film called A California Christmas. It's directed by Shaun Piccinino and stars Lauren Swickard and Josh Swickard. I'm Jesse, I'm your host. Thanks for joining me today for this Christmas episode in the middle of the year, but we are getting towards the end of the 2020 Netflix original films, which is pretty exciting. So as always, if you want to watch this film, give us a pause and come back later on, because we will spoil this as we go. And we do start the show with the Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film is all about, and this episode is probably going to be pretty quick as well. But our Fast Flick, this is about a rich man who is sent to a farm to offer the owners a purchase deal for his mother's business. But he falls in love. Where are we going to go with this one? Obviously, this one is a Netflix original. So how did it end up on Netflix? Let's have a look into that one. All I can find out for this one is that filming took place in Petaluma in California over a 3.5-week period from July 2nd, 2020 until August 4th, 2020. And both the cast and crew had to follow strict COVID requirements. The film marked Lauren Swickard's production and screenwriting debut, and obviously she stars in this film as well. There were plans for a sequel announced in December of 2020, just after the film had come out. Filming for this one took place in July of 2021, so they got straight back into it pretty quickly. Once again in the same location of Petaluma in California, as well as some other places called Herman Sons Hall and Keller Street Co-work. Lauren and Josh Swickard both returned for the sequel, along with David Del Rio and Ali Afshar, who play Leo, and Manny in this film, who we'll talk about soon as well. And then that was released in December 2021 on Netflix as well, with the subtitles A California Christmas, City Lights. Caitlin Eppley, she plays this character Liz in the film. She's like Kelly's friend at the bar. She was a former contestant on American Idol, and she sings a lot of the songs in the film as well, so that's an interesting little thing from the side. This film does, I guess, it features this song called Leave a Light On by Tom Walkers. A lot of people would know this song. It's got 241 million views on YouTube. I reckon they probably spent more on the rights for the song than they did on the rest of the film. Around the world, the translations around the world. So in Spanish, French, Greek, Hungarian, Italian, Norwegian, Russian, Turkish, Ukrainian, Arabic, and Vietnamese, it's called A Christmas in California. Smart, so smart. That is a smart title. They know how to use their language. What frustrates me the most about this title is A California Christmas. Why isn't it A Californian Christmas? Or why isn't it Californian Christmas? Oh, that frustrates me so much. In Portuguese, it's called A Toast to Christmas. Meh. It doesn't, and we'll talk about this soon. This isn't really a Christmas film. And then finally, in Chinese, it's called California Christmas Love Song. Again, a bit of a weird title as well. This was released on Netflix worldwide on the 14th of December 2020. It was put on that 2021 reframe stamp narrative and animated feature list that I feel like every film released gets put on that list. What are the critics and audiences saying about this film? So on Rotten Tomatoes, it sits at 60%. That's on 5 reviews, so it is fresh. The audience, a little bit lower, 52%. That's on more than 100 ratings. IMDb, similar again, 5.8 out of 10 on 11,000 ratings. Letterboxd's got about 8,500 ratings, sits at a 2.3 out of 5, so fairly low, but it has been logged by 13,000 people. And on Metacritic, there's no critic consensus, but the audience has it at a 5 out of 10 on 5 reviews, and that is on that yellow section of a traffic light system. What are my early thoughts for this one? I guess for the type of movie it is, it's not absolutely horrible. It's barely a Christmas movie, and a lot of the dialogue and acting, it's pretty poor, but it's actually shot pretty well. It looks okay, so, it's not the worst thing in the world. All right, characters. Let's talk about the characters. So Kelly's our main protagonist, I guess, our female. She's the one who owns this farm. She's struggling with not only the loss of her father in this car accident, but the love of her life. Her fiance died in that car accident too, and it means that she's got to look out for her dying mum and her younger sister in this huge farm that they can barely run or afford to live in, or she can't look after it herself. This all sounds pretty extreme, but her sort of role, she needs to learn to let people in, and that's where Joseph comes along. He's this ridiculously rich, selfish womanizer who cares very little for anyone but himself, but goes on this journey to find himself. His mother, who's his boss, and she's sent him to this farm to buy it, and her description of him is that the only thing he can do in life is to get women to do what he wants, and that's pretty much where he's at. The other characters, the side characters, we've got Manny. He's the real ranch hand who's meant to to come and help Kelly's family out, but he's paid off by Joseph to sort of stay out of the scene. But he also supports Joseph over the phone to make sure he doesn't look like too big an amateur while working on the farm. He's also got this secret skill of being able to taste wine and know the flavour, so that's interesting. And he sort of gets to know Leo quite well. So Leo is Joseph's faithful assistant and driver, I guess, / servant, and does whatever Joseph asks him to do. He does like a drop of wine, and that's where I guess he sort of builds this relationship with Manny, and they live in this house off to the side. And this Leo guy, he's too patient and too good for Joseph. The only other characters are Wendy and Hannah. So Wendy's Kelly's mum and Hannah's mum, and she's the terminally ill person in this film, and decided to die on her own terms rather than accept treatment because she wants to enjoy the moments with her daughters. And Hannah's the little sister who likes to bake cookies and is that innocence in the film, I guess. The director, Shaun Piccinino, apparently has 6 Netflix features to his name. Also directed the film Roped, which I hear is very similar to this film, and this is actually where Lauren Swickard and Josh Swickard first met and became a couple working on that film. So interesting little side note. All right, what are some scenes I liked? What are some ones I didn't like? I think it's hard. I mean, some of the scenes with Leo and Manny bonding in the house together, drinking wine, playing video games, they're okay. I liked, we sort of get this reveal that Kelly's dad was working on a motorbike, and we know that Joseph likes motorbikes too, and they sort of talk about it being a panhead motorbike. It just made me think of the New Zealand beer, which is called panhead, because I like that beer. That's where I'm at. What didn't I like in this film? I think the opening scene, we have Joseph waking up and leaving this girl in bed with like this menu saying, just order what you want, and just the smarm of him. And he gets on this motorbike, and I just wanted him to crash in the opening few minutes. I was just like, I do not like this guy. I think the fact that Joseph's driver, Leo, when they're driving around and he pulls over, and because Joseph spilt coffee on his suit and they had a bag of Goodwill clothes in the boot that he could just try on, the fact that he'd take clothes that are meant to go for Goodwill, and the fact that they've actually got a bag of clothes for Goodwill, that didn't make sense either. This opening scene where Joseph meets Kelly, and it's about this cow being born and then pulling it out, and they call it Joey. It was just weird. This Connor guy, I forgot to mention Connor. Connor's like, he's sort of really keen on Kelly, and he was friends with her fiance who passed away and that sort of stuff. And he rocks up at Kelly's house at one stage, and she just pulls a gun on him, which was laughable. And then he like asks her out to a wine bar, and she's like, "We're just friends. I'll see you around." It was laughable. Kelly gets help to reach this ladder that's up high from Joseph, and they sort of romantically bump. It's like, oh, these meet cute rubbish things. There's a line that Joseph talks about. There's this chicken that he can't get in the coop, and there's this line he says, "Normally chicks run towards me, not away." Oh, come on. Connor complains to Kelly that he promised her dead fiance, his name was Liam, that he would take care of her. How? He died in this car accident. It doesn't make sense. Joseph there's this scene where him and Connor have this fight in the bar, and he punches him in the face. And the next morning we see his alarm go off, and then Joseph's looking at his sore hand. That was funny. There's this slow motion music playing while Wendy and Kelly and Hannah, they're having this picnic on the front yard, and then Joseph's painting the fence while Kelly rubs her hand and missing the engagement ring that we saw her take off earlier, meaning she's keen on Joseph. There's a scene where the family all sit around the table with Joseph, and they pray to Jesus and thank them for bringing Joseph to them, or they call him Manny because that's who they think he is at that stage. Joseph continually puts off telling the truth to Kelly about him being there, about buying the land, and he's got the paperwork in his back pocket, and we get this shot of the paperwork in his back pocket, and he takes his hand off it and then just kisses her instead. Funny. And finally, Joseph is on the road, and his car stops, and Connor's car's there too, and they stop and they confront, and they're ready to fight, and Connor's like, "Get in the car and leave and don't come back," and Joseph's like, "I can't do that. Let me make it right. I deserve it." No, he doesn't deserve anything in this film. All right, themes, ideas. What's this film trying to say? There's more to life than money. Happiness is a very important thing throughout this film. The idea that if you want a relationship to work, you need to be honest and truthful from the start. That's important too. That idea of family traditions and values, and having to prove yourself to your family at times too. That's what Joseph needs to do. And finally, home, the house, the land, the memories, and what it means to people. That's a very important thing here too. What did I take away from this one? The film feels like it was written, and then Netflix are like, "Hey, we'll give you the money to make this film, but you've got to make it a Christmas film." So it's like they added in this countdown to Christmas each day. We had this car accident that happened because the people in it were driving to buy Christmas lights, and we just got to chuck in this big Christmas party at the end. Other than that, this is not a Christmas film. Anyway, questions, ponderings, thoughts. Like, am I going to hate the sequel? I don't know. I'm interested. We're not going to get to it for a while. Obviously, 12 months in Netflix time is about 10 years in our show, but I reckon I'm not going to like the sequel at all. I didn't hate this, but it's not the best. But let's wrap it up. We give the film a rating out of 5. as I sort of went on that rant at the start, the title for this film is probably what makes me the most frustrated about this film. Like, it's fine for what it is, but as always, this isn't targeted at me, I guess, with these types of films. I'm sure some people absolutely love this, but as a film, yeah, it looks good, but it's not good. I'm giving it a 2 out of 5. We're on socials. We've got Instagram, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter. The question I want to put out there, the lead couple, they're married in real life. So, like, for me, the question I want to ask is, why was the chemistry missing between the two? They're actually a couple in real life. They couldn't, on screen, it didn't feel like they cared about each other at all. So I was very confused. I'm very confused how you can have a married couple on screen actually not look like they care about each other. That really annoyed me. Let me know on socials what you think. We are back next week. Next week, we've got a drama film from 2020, and I'm excited for this one. I've been wanting to watch this since it came out. We've got Rainey's Black Bottom next week, which is directed by George C. Wolfe. It stars Viola Davis, Chadwick Boseman, Glenn Turman, Coleman Domingo, and Michael Potts. So that's what we have next week. I'm excited for that one. I'm hoping that that's going to turn our fortunes around, and no more of these Christmassy films for hopefully more than 12 months, because the Christmas season is nearly at an end on this little batch of films that we're looking at. As always, thanks for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you next week.